Alright, hey y'all, welcome back to Moonly. So today I just want to do a little endo update, or a little period menstrual cycle update. So things are going pretty well, I'm not gonna lie. I was surprised. Well, there's definitely things that are out of balance, but we're gonna start this past period, which I had about a week ago now, because I'm on day 11. I guess over a week ago. I'm on day 11 now of my cycle. And I had my first ever painless period. I know, I was in shock, because I think I had an 11-day luteal phase, which wasn't surprising, and I'll explain why that wasn't surprising. But I was up, working, and I could feel my period starting. And I remember being like, oh shit, are you serious? I have so much work to get done. I'm supposed to start my period tomorrow. And I remember messaging my friend and be like, okay, my period's coming. I'm gonna hurry up and try to finish all this work and then relax. Because on my last period, I didn't take any time off because there was some stuff going on here in my family and rental properties in Australia. Not rental properties, I live in a rental. Don't own a property. And I just didn't take any time off, and it wasn't a horrible period, but I definitely had mild cramping throughout it. But it's probably only maybe a 2 out of 10 prior to that. It wasn't overly painful, it just lasted a bit longer than it usually did. But this last period, when I started, I did take a painkiller, but that wasn't because I was in pain. I was worried that it was going to be a painful period because I had such a stressful month, which I'll talk about, but it was painless. I mean, I started, and it was even to the point where I was questioning if I had fully started my period. I was like, I texted my friend, I'm like, can you actually have this with endo? Are you allowed to have a completely painless period, no pain, maybe 0.3 out of 10. It was actually blew my mind. And so yeah, I ended up having a 4-day period. I think the second day my bleed picked up a bit, but it didn't hurt at all. I was honestly astounded. No blood clots or anything. I haven't had blood clots in a while though, since changing my diet. I don't really get blood clots anymore, but the fact that there was no pain, it was awesome. And so why did I think it was going to be a painful period? So going back, to the cycle, I lost a family member, and I was dealing with this whole rental situation here. And so one of the things I was noticing over the past month was that I was getting really, really bad leg cramps in the middle of the night, where I was trying to massage each of my calves with my other foot's toes, going like this in the middle of the night. And I think because I was just under so much stress from everything, I wasn't fully taking notice of it or trying to recognize what was that issue. And the other thing I was noticing was my anxiety was really, really bad. It hadn't been this bad in a while. And I was pooping, so I knew it wasn't vagus stimulation, because I was pooping 2 to 3 times a day, so it wasn't that. But I was, in the middle of the night, I was so anxious, my heart would just be racing as I'm going to sleep. And then I'd wake up 5 or 6 times a night with my heart just racing out of my chest, to the point where I'd have to get up, drink some water, take some kava oil, and sit on the toilet to calm myself down to try to go back to sleep. And throughout the day, it was exactly the same. My heart would start racing and all of these things, and I was like, what is happening? And I just figured, because of everything that was going on, and also for Ona's, my other business, Ona's Collaborative, we were doing a big Instagram takeover with Wildbird Ring Sling. If you don't know who they are, they're an amazing baby ring sling out of California, but they support mothers all over the United States by, employing them and setting out these baby slings, and so many people appreciate it. I can't wait to get one day. So that was really stressful, because I was trying to get things geared up for that. And so I just assumed my anxiety was through the roof. I was like, my anxiety must just be really bad. I must just be doing way too much, and I need to take a break. But then I don't know what it was. There was something that said, what are you missing? I think as a nutritionist, this is something I just asked myself. I was like, what am I missing? I'm eating what I typically eat. I'm taking what I usually take. But the one thing that did change is not that specific cycle, but the cycle before that. I had changed my magnesium supplementation. So I take magnesium because of my period cramps. I'm deficient in majority of nutrients. So I'm like slowly working to get all my nutrient levels back up. But not this cycle of before my period, but the cycle prior to that, so 2 months ago, I had changed my magnesium supplement because the place I usually go to was out of it, and I went to our food markets to get our food, and they have like a little health food shop there, and I thought that they would have it, but turns out they didn't, and they had a magnesium product that they recommended. And I remember looking at the back and being like, oh yeah, like it has all like most of the things that are in my other magnesium. So I bought it, and turns out it didn't have everything that I needed. So the biggest thing about magnesium, or nutrients in general, you want to make sure you're absorbing them. So sure, you might be having them, but it doesn't mean that your body's actually taking it in and using it. So that's what was happening. So after I think it was like 4 days before this period started, 4 or 5 days, and I was just sick of the anxiety, and I finally just got up and looked at that new bottle that I bought, and I realized immediately there were absolutely no B vitamins in it. So like typically I don't eat a lot of red meat. I know for me, especially with my liver, fibroids, ovarian cysts, like B vitamins are huge for me. I need those. And I hadn't even taken into consideration or calculation when I had bought this magnesium supplementation. And so like I looked up really quickly, like, oh my gosh, it was like 7 o'clock at night. I was looking up to make sure that's what I was actually missing from my old brand of magnesium, and that was it. Like I had all of the B vitamins and all of these other minerals within that magnesium. So yes, it was a more expensive bottle, but I was getting so much more out of it, and I was actually absorbing the magnesium. And so luckily one of our pharmacies stays open till 9, so I just was like, I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna go get this magnesium before we have dinner and see if that's what is like causing all of these issues. Cause I was like gearing up for a painful period. I mean, it was a stressful month. I think I was having pain all month as well. Like I was having a lot of like ovary pain and uterus pain. So I was just expecting a really painful period. Also, quickly just wanted to say it is also allergy season here in Australia. So it is like I'm allergic to all nuts and seeds, and all nuts and seeds are blooming. My neighbor has a pecan tree, and I'm allergic to pecans. So I think that is another reason my endo pain hasn't been super amazing the past 2 months. The allergies, like seasonal allergies, which unfortunately I can't really do anything about. And then, so I went out, I bought the right magnesium supplementation, the one that I had. It's not the exact one, but it's the exact brand. The only difference is this one just has a flavor added into it, which I'm actually not a fan of. I prefer the one without a flavor. But I bought it, came home, took it. That first night, I slept like a baby. I think I woke up. I usually do wake up 3 or 4 times a night, very vaguely, but I didn't wake up with a racing heartbeat. I felt so refreshed when I woke up. My leg cramps had diminished so much. I think I still had a few, but as those days went, my anxiety was gone. I was no longer waking up from a racing heartbeat. I was sleeping. I was happy. I was realizing that I actually wasn't stressed. And so then I got to my period, and I thought it was going to be painful because even though I'd added the magnesium and the B vitamins back in, I was like, that's not enough time for my whole body, for that to make up for my entire cycle. But luckily, I had a painless period. I was astounded. Like a 4-day normal bleed period. I felt good. I felt creative. I went out and bought some fabric because I'm going to make a jumpsuit. I felt incredible. And I took those 3 days off just to like, pamper me and give myself some time to like come back into my body, since I didn't give that to myself the prior month. And so now I'm on day 11 of this new cycle. And I will say that the leg cramps did come back. The anxiety's still gone, the racing heartbeat's still gone, but the one thing that did come back is the leg cramps. And so I did some more research, and it turns out that a lot of people who are experiencing leg cramps really also need to look at their calcium levels. So typically I take vitamin D supplementation, but my doctor told me during the summer months in Australia, I should be okay not to have to take vitamin D because I live in Australia. And I'm originally from the Northern Hemisphere. I'm originally from Ohio, and majority of African Americans and people who live in the Northern Hemisphere in general are vitamin D deficient, but especially African Americans. And so I was doing more research 2 days ago, yesterday, I can't remember when. And I was like researching, I was like, okay, so if I'm deficient in calcium. Why am I deficient in calcium? Well, it's actually quite obvious. So I'm lactose intolerant, so I don't have cow's dairy. I do have goats, but mainly goat's cheese. I don't really have goat's, yogurt. And so for me to get all the calcium that I need, I would have to drink around 4 cups of goat's milk a day. And that's the standard. Like we should all be having between, 1,000 and 1,200 milligrams of calcium a day, and so many of us don't have that. Calcium it is a common deficiency. Most things unfortunately now are a deficiency, but that's something I am not having, and I haven't had a lot of dairy in the past like 5 or 6 years. So I was like, okay, so that would make sense for the calcium. Why the vitamin D? Well, the thing is, you need calcium to absorb vitamin D, and even though we had just come out of summer, we're like in the middle of autumn now. And so I'm also not really getting vitamin D anymore because we were at the beach all summer, and now it's autumn and I'm not really outside. So I knew I was going to need to reintroduce vitamin D, but I didn't think about the calcium in partnership with it. And so I have started at the vitamin D and calcium as of yesterday, and still in the magnesium, and I feel amazing. I haven't had any muscle cramps. I will say I'm still having a bit of pain. It's not pain. It's almost like a cramping around my ovaries and thighs and calves. And I was originally thinking that all of it had to do with endo, but I was a bit like not convinced that it had to do with endo as well, because usually if my pelvis is hurting that bad, my back is hurting, like everything's really, really hurting, and I haven't had that this month. So that's why I was like, maybe it's an ovarian cyst, maybe it's this. And now that I've done more research on calcium, magnesium, and vitamin D deficiencies, it wouldn't surprise me if it's literally just the nerves and the cramping from being deficient in those vital nutrients. And so I have reintroduced them, and I will keep you guys updated. Since I just introduced the calcium and vitamin D with the magnesium. But so far, I'm feeling amazing. I had my first painless period. Crazy. I've worked so freaking hard to get here, and still there's a lot of work that I need to do. But yeah, don't take for granted your vitamin and minerals. They're huge, and that's something that I focus on as an FNCP. No, I do not do blood work, but I do it off functional testing. So I actually do it based off of symptoms, looking at those symptoms that are lining up and where is that leading us. And even if you do say, you need magnesium, what are the cofactors that you need alongside with that to make sure you're absorbing it and not just losing it? And not even just, taking supplements, but how can you get it from your food? I try really, really hard to get it from my food, and I'm going to be trying very hard as of tomorrow when I finally go to the markets to get, goat's yogurt and goat's milk to try to make sure I'm getting my calcium back up, because I don't want to have to be on calcium supplementation. Vitamin D supplementation I can see, because of the type of work I do. I'm not outside all day, but calcium, I should be able to get that. Unfortunately, B vitamins are going to be hard for me because I don't get to eat a lot of red meat. I get a lot of chicken and fish, but there's a lot of benefits out of eating red meat that I'm not going to get. So yeah, that's my story. Okay, well, I'm gonna thank you all so much for listening. I'm excited to be back into YouTube now. So if any of you guys have any questions or you want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me at moonlywoman@gmail.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at moonly.x. I also just created a TikTok at moonly.x. We'll see how we go. But yeah, okay. And if you liked or you want to subscribe for future videos, feel free to do so. If you want to find out more about my one-on-one program, feel free to sign up for a free call at moonlyco.com, or you can email at moonlywoman@gmail.com, and we'll figure something out. All right, thanks for watching and listening. I will see you all later. Bye.